The following is an interview of Dr. Kala H. Koss by entrepreneur and best-selling author T. Harv Eker.
Hi, everybody. So our guest trainer tonight is an international seminar presenter. She's a very, very inspirational speaker. She's a great success coach and a consultant also. She teaches people the secrets to increase their incomes and their personal power, and she's taught thousands of people to do that. She has a great workshop called Dare to Create Money, and it's a catalyst for windfalls of money and opportunity. And I can tell you that I have read more this woman knows how to get testimonials. I don't know. You have to teach me how to do this, because she has testimonials up the yin yang, and every time I'm looking on the emails or anything out of her, she's got dozens and dozens of new testimonials. And these aren't like testimonials like, yeah, I enjoyed the workshop or whatever. These are things like, I did your workshop, and 2 weeks later I got a check for $38,000, or I couldn't sell my house, and all of a sudden I did your workshop. Not only did I sell my house, but I sold it for more than I was asking for by $7,000. And just amazing miracles seem to occur. So one of the reasons I'm having her on today is because I want to see if I can get into her workshop for free. And I figured if I had her on, maybe she'd let me in. Anyways, she's a great person. She's an author. Her first book is called The Power of Aloha. It's the Hawaiian Guide to Love, Health, and Wealth. It's out in Germany, Austria, and Switzerland. It's going to be available in North America in June this year. Her second book is called Ecstasy to Success, and that's going to be available in Canada and the U.S. Our guest tonight lives and is speaking to us from the beautiful island of Kauai, Hawaii. So, Kala, are you on the line here?
Aloha,
okay.
Everybody. I just want to say aloha to everyone on the line, because I could just feel that energy from your group. It was just crackling through the phone lines, you know. And I don't know if those of you on the line can just start to tune into the energy of Kauai. See if you can tune into the palm trees, the ocean, and out there the whales and the dolphins are swimming around. And I'm sure that there's people on your line, Harv, who've been here on the islands. In fact, I talked to some of them while we were waiting for you. And you know, Harv, how the nature here in Hawaii shows you that there's absolutely no limits to the abundance that you can experience in your life. Isn't that right?
That's what I found. It's an incredible place.
Yeah, Kauai is so absolutely gorgeous. And just through osmosis, you begin to feel that prosperity, that abundance. And it's quite exceptional. So many of you who've been to the islands, I know that you know what the word aloha means. And as I started out, I said aloha. Harv, you know what aloha means?
I'm not, no.
Kind of hello, goodbye.
Yeah.
You know that part?
Yeah.
Well, it also means love. It actually also means love. So people are saying love to each other when they say aloha. But like many words in the Hawaiian language, it has another translation too. And that translation is the joyful sharing of life energy in the present moment. And I think that's such a beautiful meaning for it. And what I'm going to do, I'm going to ask the people on the line to get a little wild. So what I'm going to do is share my life energy with you by shouting aloha. And even though I can't hear all of you that are out there on the line, I'm going to ask you to share your life energy with me by shouting back after I say aloha. And you shout back aloha into the phone, okay? So are we all ready?
Yep.
You know,
ready?
Cal, I can let you hear that back. I can.
Good.
We'll just let you hear that.
Okay. All right. So if we're ready, here we go. Aloha. Aloha. Great. Thank you. Oh, that was good. Thanks, Gail.
You're welcome.
I bet that was the last thing you expected to do tonight on a call about money and business. But, you know, it might have felt a little bit silly, but it got our energies all moving together with one intention. And that's appropriate for tonight's teleclass, because I'm going to be talking a lot about energy and magnetism today. And this particular teleclass, it's a little unconventional for Harv's normal business and money subject matter, but this is going to be about the business of magnetizing money to you.
Well, all I know, Kala, is that it works because, like I said, the testimonials have come in like crazy. People who I know who have taken your program and talked with you even on the phone, they're making more money, they're creating more money, they're magnetizing more money. So, as I said earlier, and most of our people have heard this from me 100 times, but you have the greatest tools in the world, but if you have a bit of a leak in the toolbox, you got a bit of an issue there and a bit of a challenge. And so anything that we can do to adjust the toolbox is, I think, the most powerful thing, because we all have so many tools, but many of us either don't or can't use them. And so that's where the action is in the other three realms, as we talked about.
Right. And it always helps to have another perspective.
Totally. It
always helps to have another way to look at things. And I love you, Harv, for all of that testimonial PR. That's great. I don't ask for any of those testimonials. They just come flying in, and it's really great. I enjoy them so much. It's what gives me a great pleasure in my life, is to fulfill that purpose to help other people prosper. And so it seems to be that I can be a catalyst for that, and that's very exciting. I heard Dan Kennedy on your line one evening, and he was talking about magnetic marketing. But what I'm going to be talking about is magnetic consciousness. And I know that a lot of your people have already heard so much of this through you, because you've got that magnetic consciousness, Harv. And with magnetic consciousness, just as with quantum physics, you have to think in 4 dimensions. And that's of body, mind, spirit, and the energy that makes it all work. And one of my major teleclass courses, which you mentioned, Dare to Create Money, is based specifically on how to develop a magnetic consciousness that attracts money and abundance into your life. And I really think, Harv, that for much too long, most of us have given our power over to the outside world. We really look out there for everything. We look for love, we look for money, we look for fulfillment out there. And of course, we've been programmed heavily to do that, to look to others and to look to things to make our lives work. But I really believe that we're now at a turning point in our evolution. And I think that we're more prepared than ever to really embark right now on a self-directed adventure. It's an adventure that is consciously generated from the inside out. And I like to think of it as both the intimate frontier and the ultimate frontier. It's within us and it's before us. And I find that very exciting. And I just want to, before I really go into more of the system that I work with, I want to let you know a little bit more about my background. My life has really been dramatically altered, improved by a single teaching. And that teaching has helped me to experience more confidence, more joy, more love, more spirit, and more prosperity. And that teaching is called Huna. It's H-U-N-A. And Harv, you mentioned a little that this is a science of making things happen. Huna is an ancient practice, and it's a philosophy for effective living. And it's often been labeled a science of making things happen because you can get repeatable results by using it. And it's not a religion, so it doesn't matter what your religious practices are for anyone on the line. Whatever religion you belong to, this won't be in conflict with that. And I was led to Huna through a really unique series of events that I want to tell you about, because I think that it's very important. And of course, we all have our little stories that we carry around, and this is one of my little stories. And I personally now, I believe that we create reality and our experience of reality from the inside out. And I was really able to practice that concept for myself when I was in my 20s, when I cured myself of an incurable disease. Now, are most of your people on the line in Canada right now, Harv?
Oh, yes.
Oh, okay. So I was a flight attendant in my 20s with Air Canada. I was an international flight attendant, flying all over the place and having a great time. And on one of the overseas flight, I was on an L-1011, which flies at an angle. So it's kind of flying at an uphill angle. And I was in my high heels pulling this meal trolley, 150-pound meal trolley uphill, and I suddenly felt something in my back and a pain that followed. And I had to keep working, though, because it was a busy flight, and I had to ignore it. Well, the next day I couldn't walk. I couldn't get out of bed. I couldn't, get to the bathroom without crawling to it. And as a result of that injury to my back, a result of hurting it, an illness set in. And that illness is called ankylosing spondylitis. And for anyone who's read Norman Cousins' book, Anatomy of an Illness, that is the disease that he also had. So I was told at the time that, that it was degenerative and debilitating and potentially fatal and that there was no known cure for it. And of course that was a hard thing for me in my life. I was a very vibrant young woman up to that point, and suddenly I couldn't work anymore, and I had to deal with the pain and the frustration that followed that, and I was in that situation for 3 years. And after 3 years of suffering with it, I happened to go to a human development seminar, human potential seminar. And in the course of that seminar, I discovered the mind-body connection, and I discovered what it was that had actually caused that experience in my life. I realized why I was experiencing it, and I realized that I had the power to change it. Since I had created that experience for myself, I had the power to create health in my body. And when I decided to do that, I had a lot of motivation to do it, and I decided to try every healing modality I could for the next following year. And it took me a year. It did take me a year, but at the end of that time, I went back to Air Canada to the administration, and I said, I'm ready to fly again. Well, I guess you know that the administration wasn't too excited about hearing that this liability wants to come back to work. And so they sent me to 3 specialists, and those specialists tested me thoroughly, and they couldn't find a trace of it in my blood or my body anywhere. And so they had to return me to flying. So it was that experience of understanding and learning that I had created my health from the inside out, that I had created my experience from the inside out, that led me to put out a prayer of, well, how do we do that in other areas of our life? How do we create the love we want? How do we create the money we want? And that's what led me to the system of Huna. And Huna specifically teaches how we create our experience of reality. So Huna actually means secret or hidden knowledge. And the ancient Kahunas, who were the keepers of the secret, they believed that this is an infinite universe. And of course, I think that all of us here on the line today, I think we also believe it's an infinite universe. And if we assume that it is an infinite universe, then it stands to reason that everything exists already in potential. So if you're wanting to manifest something, you're not trying to get something that's not already there. What you're doing is you're actually drawing it into form from the invisible realm, which in Hawaiian it's called Po, into the visible realm, which is called A'o, the physical reality. So how do you bring that which you desire from the invisible into the visible? How do you bring forth the reality of wealth?
Kala,
yes.
Just to add to that, if you don't mind, for those people who are a little more left brain, it's the same thing in quantum physics is coming from the wave into the particle. In other words, it's all out there in a big wave, and everything that you want is out there. It's almost like I don't know, I guess you'd call them like white rays or clouds or something. Well, if you could imagine them kind of just full of all the things you want. And the question is, how do you kind of pick it as it's going by and bring it into your reality and making it a particle? Same type of thing there. So definitely, it's just all out there. And it's a really great frame for people to hear that it is there and it is available for their picking up.
Yes.
So that's what you're teaching them. How do you get it from the wave into the particle, or how do you get it from the, what did you call the two from in Hawaiian?
From Po into Ao.
Okay, got it.
Invisible into the visible.
Got it.
Right.
Yeah.
And am I coming across real clear?
Perfectly.
For everybody? Good. Okay. So that's what I teach. I teach people how to do that. I teach people how to do that through that ancient knowledge of Hawaii. And I'd like to ask a question here that have you all consider this for yourselves. Now, you can only have one or the other. You can't have one later, all right? So, and you can consider this too, Harv, but I'm sure I know your answer. So if I gave you a choice, you could have $1 million right now, or you could have absolute mastery of the process of creating money. Which one would you choose?
Duh.
Gail, which one would you choose?
Mastery.
Right. And so why would you choose the mastery?
Because it's an infinite flow. Incoming, however much you want. There is no limit.
Right, because once you master that process, then you're not limited by the outside conditions, right?
Mm-hmm.
You can create it. You can create what you want when you want it.
Exactly.
You don't have to be like some of these lottery people who get all that money and then they lose it and they're bankrupt and they don't see it again.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
Exactly.
So, yeah, Harv, you want to say anything?
Ditto.
That's what I do in the Dare to Create Money seminars. I teach that mastery of the process of creating money, and I do it through teaching the system of Huna that's based on understanding 7 modules for prosperity, which I want to go into some today, and also understanding the aspects of your own consciousness, how those aspects work together to create your experience of reality. And when I say consciousness, I want you to think of your consciousness as expressing itself in 3 ways: the conscious self, the subconscious, and the superconscious self. And I know you all know that already because Harv's been talking about it over and over. And they're aspects of you as a whole, yet they have separate functions. So just as the papaya is made up of the seeds and the pulp and the skin, there's one papaya, but it has different parts for different purposes. And at those times when you experience effortless manifestation, those 3 aspects of yourself are interacting harmoniously as a team. So it's important to note that, because you want to know more and more how to bring that harmony of the 3 selves to have that effortless manifestation. So today I'm going to share just a few of those prosperity modules. I have a feeling I probably even have less time than I think I have.
Well, we're going to start our Q&A at about 7:30, 7:35, something like that.
Oh, okay, good. That's good.
Our time.
Which would be about 5:30 my time, yeah. So I'm going to share, some of the tools and techniques and the principles that could help you see that unconsciously you're always working with energy and magnetism to draw people and money and events into your life. But when you begin to consciously start magnetizing what you want in certain ways before you take action, you can draw those things into your life more easily. And some of the principles and techniques I'm going to share with you, at first they seem deceivingly simple, but don't let that fool you, because they are powerfully effective. So to begin with, I'm going to introduce you to the power breath. And that's going to energetically charge you. It's going to bring you into the present moment, and it's going to signal your subconscious self that something important is about to happen. And you can do this power breath in the future, anywhere, at any time, with your eyes open or closed. We call it in Hawaiian piko piko, because piko means center, and it will be center to center. So I'm just going to explain it to you first. It's so simple. First, you're just going to start to notice your breathing. And then, as you inhale, you're going to put your attention on the crown of your head. And as you exhale, you're going to put your attention on your navel. And you're going to keep shifting your focus of attention from your crown to your navel with each inhale and exhale. And we're going to do that for about 8 rounds, and I'll just talk you through it still. So why not close your eyes, just close your eyes gently for a moment, and I'll talk you through it again, and just become aware of your breathing. I want you to slowly and consciously inhale through the nose, focus your attention on the top of your head, and as you exhale through your nose, move your focus of attention down to your navel. And just keep doing this, shifting back and forth from the top of the head to the navel with every inhalation and exhalation until I tell you to stop. Inhaling with attention at the crown of your head. Exhaling with attention at your navel. Okay, good. All right, let's just stop now. And how did that feel? How did that feel for you guys that I can talk to on the phone?
Relaxing.
Relaxing. Yeah.
Centering.
Mm-hmm. Yes, it energizes you and relaxes you at the same time. And that focus of attention on those two areas, it just starts the flow of energy between them. You don't have to think that you're bringing energy in through your crown or sending it out through your navel. All you have to do is shift your attention between the two of them. Now, we didn't do it for very long, but this little exercise is very powerful because what it does is it increases your awareness and your energy in the present moment. And to the degree to which you increase your awareness and your energy in the present is the degree to which your power and your effectiveness in the present also increases. So if you want to, while we're going through the teleclass this evening, you can just go ahead and do that power breath and see what effect it has on you. And we always use this during our manifestation process and Dare to Create Money because the subconscious responds more quickly to your direction when you consciously use your breath to energize or to relieve tension. And plus, when you're conscious breathing like this, it clears the path for a stronger flow of life force energy, and you need that life force energy to help bring about the changes you want. So you can do this technique anytime, anywhere, like I said. I'd like you to practice it while you're driving the car, when you're in the lineups at the bank, when you're pushing the grocery cart. And if you do it regularly, you're going to find that people will start noticing you more, and they're going to be drawn to you. This is just a technique to help you to begin to be more magnetic yourself. It's very simple, and it's also very important to get you into the present moment where your power resides. The first module, let's go on to that. What I've done is I've taken the 7 Huna principles, and I've tapered them into 2-word lines so that they're easier to remember. And the first one is thought magnetizes. Of course, thought magnetizes. And I like to say that life is an energy event. You know, the universe is energy vibrating in patterns. And Deepak Chopra has a great definition for thought. He defines thought as a quantum event, an impulse of energy and information that transforms itself into molecules. Now, when he says that transforms itself into molecules, you can see that he's referring to thought as though it's alive. And in his tradition, just as in the Hawaiian tradition, we look at thoughts as alive. Not only are they alive, but they have an electromagnetic reality. They're magnetic, and they attract physical representations of themselves. So, will you just imagine that there is an electromagnetic field that surrounds you, which there is, and it also flows through you like an electric current. And the dominating thoughts that you hold in your mind, and by the way, that's not just your conscious mind, that's your subconscious mind too, that they become magnetized within this field. And these magnets attract to you the forces, the people, the circumstances that harmonize with those dominant thoughts. So the thoughts that you think and the feelings that follow those thoughts, they have an electromagnetic reality. So just to ask yourself, do you think of yourself as prosperous? Do you think of yourself as successful or powerful? Sometimes, you know, when I'm talking with people like this and I ask them that question and they say, yes, I think of myself as prosperous. But if you say that you think of yourself as prosperous, but it doesn't show up that way in your bank account, then you can be sure that there's a part of you that's thinking differently, quite differently. So we know that your thoughts affect your self-image, your thoughts affect your life force energy, and your thoughts affect the amount of money you have in your life. And of course, the bottom line is that in order to change your state or your status, you've got to change the way you think. Because if you don't change the way you think first, you're not going to change your behavior. That's obvious. You know, it's your behavior, your mental and your physical behavior that determines what you're experiencing. So the quality of this first module is awareness. because you've got to be aware of your thoughts, your habits, your behaviors if you want to change them. You've got to be aware of your thoughts relating to money. And many of you may have heard of this book or already read this book. Susie Orman wrote a book called 9 Steps to Financial Freedom. And she's a financial planner as well as an author. And she says, I'll go so far as to say that in my experience, most of my clients' biggest problems in life today, even those that appear on the surface not to be money related, are directly connected with their early formative experiences of money. So the first step toward financial freedom is to take a step back in time to the earliest moments you can recall when money meant something to you, when you truly understood what it could do.
I just want to say that one thing. I have to interject for a second. Is that okay, Kala?
Oh, absolutely.
Really important that for everybody to realize that on the money and business track here, our intention is for results. We want your money and your business to do better. And certainly having marketing tools and all kinds of left-brainy type of how-to stuff is very, very important, and we really believe that. But I got to let you know that this is, again, my opinion. Don't believe a word I say. That part of it, the tools, I'm telling you over and over and over again, is 10% or less of your success. 10% or less of your success comes from your tools of what you know. 90% is going to come directly from the inside. It's this kind of stuff, no matter what anybody says about, oh, this is, more new agey, this is woo, this is what, I wanted some meat and potatoes. This is the meat and potatoes. Everything else is the gravy. And if you don't understand that, that's why you're not rich. That is why you're not rich. Okay? When you really get it, that it comes from the inside, and you really start working with this, and you really watch what you say, and watch your thoughts, and watch your actions, that's when you will get rich. Sorry, Kala. Just want to make sure people really get the importance of this stuff.
Right, and it happens just like that. It happens just like that when your subconscious adopts a new pattern. That your superconscious then brings that pattern into physical reality. Miracles
can occur for people when they have this stuff together.
That's right.
Okay,
yeah.
and if it's not occurring for you, it's because you don't have it together. And don't pretend you do. And it's okay, don't put yourself down, but work at it. Get your act together on the mental, spiritual, emotional realms. It's the inside parts of you that will make the difference, not the outside.
Great, Harv. And when you start to observe what you hear in our culture from our childhood up about money and people who have lots of money, it's not surprising that our subconscious has adopted certain ideas that we may not even be aware of. I just recently taught this money course in Kingston, Jamaica, and when I asked what were some of the things that they'd heard about money when they were growing up, the sayings that they heard were things like, silver and gold will vanish away, but a good education will never decay. Or by the sweat of your brow shall you eat, or there's no money tree in the backyard, or you can't put love in the pot and cook it. And there's a lot of different things that we heard growing up and that we absorbed unconsciously. And then some of them are also very big. They're not just with these small little statements that we've heard. So I know I've listened to you, Harv, talk about the ideas you had about money, and those that your wife had that caused, conflicts before you both became aware of them and changed them. And that was real important, wasn't it, to be able to identify those?
Yeah, her big problem.
That's an important one. So I'll give you an example of my own, and then I'll also give you another example that reflects that someone just sent me. So when I was a child, my parents, they had arrived in Canada as poor immigrants from Croatia. They escaped from communist Yugoslavia at that time. And, they arrived in the dead of winter with probably hardly any money at all and not speaking the language. And they worked very hard together to create a construction business. They taught themselves how to build houses. And myself and my younger brother, we always lived in these beautiful houses that my parents had built. Well, they got very good at it and they became very beautiful, the houses. But we were always, in the process of selling the house. And at some point in my childhood, I became aware of snide comments from other children about my parents being rich. And though I don't think that they were much better off than our neighbors, there were these underlying emotions of envy and resentment that I could feel occasionally from other kids I was with. And that became associated for me with being rich. So having more money than others meant that I wouldn't be accepted. And my subconscious just naturally sought to protect me from this disapproval or rejection by resisting wealth. And so later as an adult, I suddenly became aware of this subconscious belief pattern and how it had limited me. And I really had to consciously, diligently choose to replace that pattern. You know, I got an email just a couple days ago from a lady who happened to hear me talking about this, and she says, oh, I have to tell you about two things that occurred for me on tonight's call that were amazing. First, though I have done extensive work around where my money conversations and limiting beliefs about having it come from, when you mentioned your experience as a kid and the snide comments about having money leaving you with the thought pattern that money equals rejections, a big light went off in my head. I grew up in a middle-class family. We owned a department store chain. Kids who didn't grow up with me would immediately not like me and make a decision that I was a rich brat and not be my friend because of my family name. I actually got beaten up a bit at school once by some girls who were jealous of my blue jeans. And then in brackets she says, it's funny, before I really understood all of this, I used to say, hey, I didn't choose my parents. And this seems ironic to me now. I was a nice kid. To this day, one of my needs is to be liked. Tonight I see the connection between these childhood incidents and my money situation. I see now why, when I am in someone's big, beautiful home, a home like where I grew up, I actually feel uncomfortable, like I won't ever have that. I am confused by this thinking since beautiful things are not foreign to me at all. I always had them. Now I see that having them meant people wouldn't like me or I would get hurt. I have to tell you, once you talked about this, I could barely concentrate on anything else after that for about 5 minutes. Powerful. I now have an even deeper understanding of my blocks, and this will help me to release them. She says, yay! So that's very important because, you know, money's out there and it's among us. It comes in, it flows in, but you're the channel through which it flows.
So again, Carl, before we go to the next module, let me just. So what's something that people can do that we're talking about specific. The forces, like in John Keogh talks about, thoughts are real forces. Mm-hmm. They magnetize similar and like thoughts and reality. So, guys, if you guys are thinking negatively in any way around money or negatively in any way around people who have money or are successful, you are sending out negative vibrations into the universe, and you are attracting that negative vibration back to you in your income and your reality. Mm-hmm. So conversely, you know, what Carl is saying right here is you really have to monitor your thinking. What comes out of your head, those thoughts are real forces. Look at them like arrows or magnets, every one of them that goes out there. And they are going to be drawing to you what it is you put out there. So if you're looking to draw more wealth, more success, magnetize money, you will have to start thinking very, very pro-money, wealth, success in a really positive light. And watch them both on a conscious and an unconscious basis. Is that basically one of the action steps they can take, Carla?
Yeah, absolutely. In fact, I realize that there's just so much material that I like to cover, you know, yeah. and it's difficult to do all that and give everyone what. Well,
if people can get 2 or 3 real key, simple points and actions with them, that's enough. I mean, mm-hmm. Right now, if you can do one thing that'll improve it, that's even great. Mm-hmm. So let's do some powerful pieces here.
Yeah, so what I was saying is that you're the channel through which it flows, of course. It's not going to get any more abundant than you're thinking about yourself or you're thinking about money itself. As Harv said, you have to start changing your thoughts about that, of course. Because if you've got thoughts like, if I have lots of money, people won't like me, or that money's evil, you're going to keep yourself unconscious. And in order to bring those riches to you that you want, you have to become money conscious. But if you've got those limiting thoughts, your subconscious self is not going to want to go that direction because it's too painful. So you can see how awareness is so important to creating prosperity, because you've got to see what those hidden beliefs about money and wealth are. And you have to be aware that you create your experience with money. However, most people say, oh, you create your reality. But until you get that into your physiology, until you get that into that part of yourself, what we call the ku, the subconscious part of yourself, until that part of you changes that energy pattern to a new vibration, you're not going to see your reality change, and you're not going to be able to create your experience the way you want to create it. It doesn't matter, all kinds of strategies for wealth building, if you don't have the inner patterns to support it, because you either won't be able to achieve it if you don't have those inner patterns, or you'll get it and lose it, or you'll have it and you won't enjoy it. And that's why it's so important, when we do a 28-day formula, we use breath, energy, sound, movement, focus, repetition, all those things that the subconscious needs to take on that new pattern. So just to summarize that first module, to experience more prosperity in your life, you've got to improve your thinking. However, you have got to improve your conscious and subconscious thinking. And you've got to be aware and remember that abundance is a vibration, an energy pattern. That's what it is. It's an energy pattern. And the second module says that all energy patterns can be changed. In the second module, we say releasing liberates. So you can choose the freedom from those old thought patterns, and you can change by releasing them and replacing them with new ones. We see that all the time, with athletes who use their guided visualizations to have superior performance. Well, so they're releasing an old pattern and replacing it with a new one in their mind before it actually happens. So that's, we're going through that quite quickly, but I wanted to get you to the third module, which is so important, and that is attention energizes. The third module, attention energizes, is really important because it says that your focus of attention generates a current between you and wherever you put your attention. So I'm going to ask you to just do a little exercise with me right now. It's going to illustrate what I'm talking about. You can, if you have, one hand free, that's perfect. So what you want to do is you want to put out your free hand with your palm up in front of you. I want you to relax your shoulder, relax your hand, but just put your hand up so that you can see the lines on your palm. And just for a moment, I want you to observe the size and the shape of your hand and the color of your skin. And now I want you to see all the lines on the palm of your hand. Focus your attention there as if you were a master palmist and you could read these lines. Or you could draw them on a separate piece of paper for me, showing all the lines. Okay, now I want you to imagine that there is a dial on your palm, and it measures the intensity of your concentration. That dial only goes up to 7, and you're at about 3 right now. So I want you to move that dial up to 4. Feel how the intensity of your concentration increases. Move it up to 5. Move it up to 6 and feel your concentration increasing. Move it up to 7, highest number on the dial. Feel that strong focus of attention for a few more moments. Okay, now I want you to, maybe you have to cradle your telephone in your ear for a moment. I want you to bring your other hand out, and I want you to look at those two hands. I want you to see what's different between the hand that you were focusing on and the other hand. Is there something that's different in the way that it looks or the way that it feels? And what about you, Gail and Harv? Were you able to see a difference?
Oh, there's a total difference in where the lines are, for sure.
Oh, the lines changed?
Oh, yeah.
Uh-huh. Wow. Now, did your hand change? Did it change and get, mine actually is plumper. It looks a little bigger. Did you get any feeling of heat or tingling or anything?
Oh, there's tingling in the fingers.
Uh-huh. Okay. Yeah, and Harv, did you get some of that?
Yeah, one is a little bit darker than the other.
Yeah, so, okay, just shake all that out. Just shake your neck and your hands, your arms and everything. And what you just experienced, this little exercise was to show you that what happened was a biological flow of energy moved along a path to your palm, which was the object of your attention. So attention energizes. Your focus of attention generates a current between you and wherever you put your attention. And of course, the sharper the focus, the stronger the current. And if you sustain that focused attention, it channels the energy of the universe into manifesting the equivalent of what you're focusing on. So of course, in other words, you get what you concentrate on. And if that's so, then if you know that your physical, your emotional, your spiritual energy flows in the direction of your focus, then doesn't it make sense to focus on what you want and not what you don't want? But how many times have we said things or thought over and over, I never have enough money, or I can't afford that? Where does the current of energy go?
Away from your prosperity.
Yeah, it goes not only away from your prosperity, but into manifesting that idea. It reinforces it and brings it as a reality into your life. Mm-hmm. So as Harv was saying, you want to stop thinking and talking about lack. You want to focus on prosperity. You especially want to stop focusing on criticizing other people for having lots of money, because that's not going to create the money you want in your own life. And then also, you heard me talking about some underlying limiting ideas about money that I had discovered and this woman discovered. Well, in some form or another, if you have a limiting idea, you have been focusing attention on that idea, and it may have been a focus of your subconscious mind. Whatever you came up with about, well, gee, I have this idea about money. Your subconscious mind has been focusing attention there, and you may not have been consciously aware of it. And so it's feeding energy to that idea. Now what you can do is you have a choice. You have a choice to feed energy to a more expansive idea that you come up with. And that's very, very important. And what I'm going to do is, because it's so obvious, that there's little time to do everything, but I do want you to have at least one tool, again, that you can walk away with about focus. I'm going to give you something, a very simple tool that can really help you just to keep your attention on a positive focus. When you find yourself focusing on what we call stuff, which is stresses, doubts, unhappiness, or fears, I want you to just think of the word cancel. It's a circle with a line through it. Imagine a cancel sign. And then you're going to EWOP it. E-W-O-P. EWOP it. And that stands for, it's an acronym. It stands for everything's working out perfectly. Everything's working out perfectly. You tell yourself that you can stop worrying because everything's working out perfectly and you don't even have to know how. And this is an opportunity to trust your superconscious self, your high self, to bring about that desired event in the best possible way. I have had so many wonderful results from this technique, and so many students have too. And so what I want you to do is just a simple one with me now. I'm going to take you through this EWOP exercise so you can use it in all kinds of situations. Think about something in your life with which you have some kind of concern. You just think of that. And then decide that you're going to turn this situation over to your high self. Your high self is that part of you that most directly knows God, that most directly knows universal intelligence. You're going to turn that situation over to your high self to handle the details. And you can even say to yourself or aloud, high self, I'm turning this over to you. Take care of this in the best possible way. And so this is what we're going to do. We're going to add some focus and some breath to this EWOP exercise too. So just close your eyes just for a moment. And this time, I want you to inhale with your attention at the center of the earth and exhale with your attention at the heavens. So just begin to do that. Inhale with your attention at the center of the earth and exhale with your attention at the heavens. And now with each exhalation, what I'd like you to do is imagine that any problem or challenge or difficult emotion is being released to your high self. You're turning it over. Just allow yourself to let it go. So inhaling at the center of the earth, exhaling to the heavens and letting go of that, saying, high self, you take care of this for my highest good. Letting it go. And then begin to expect that the best outcome's already happening, and have confidence that everything's working out perfectly. Right now you can just settle back and trust that everything's turning out beautifully. And then just take a deep breath and open your eyes. And what this does is this helps you to remain in a calm and clear state of positive expectation a lot more of the time. And that's very, very important. How did that feel?
It felt good. The distinction there, Carla, is really important that you made, which is that, our lower self, our little me, our ego mind is so frickin' limited that, and what we do is then we have a problem that basically it created out of the way it's been thinking and being, and then we try to solve that problem with that same mind. As I said so many times, you can't solve a problem with the same mind that created it. And what this allows people to do, and not just in the money realm, but every realm, decisions and challenges and any stress and anything that you're trying to control and, it's not going your way and all that kind of stuff, is to be able to release that to your higher self. And the comment I do want to make is that once you've accepted what is and you release it, you want to expect the best. At the same time, you cannot be emotionally attached to it because that puts up blocks, doesn't it, Colin?
Well, sure, if you're going to put emotion behind it that has maybe some fear or doubt about it actually happening, that's a certain kind of focus there.
And that's usually what people do. They say, okay, I'll turn it over, but boy, if you don't get this to me in the next day or two, I'm going to flip out again. That type of thing.
And it's coming from need instead of trust.
Exactly.
And what you need, it's a scarcity consciousness.
Right, and that is so important. That I think that's a big word for tonight, is to really trust in your higher self. You can trust in that, in the higher power in some format, but you have a part of you that is connected to that higher power of the universe, that the most magnificent part of the universe, and that is inside each and every one of us. And that's the part of you that has the inner wisdom, and you can tap right into that. But first you have to say, hey, take over. I'm willing to give this issue to you, versus trying to figure it all out.
Right. First of all, I want to summarize, with the first one the first module we were saying that awareness is really important. With the second module, it's freedom, release those old patterns, and with the third one, it's focus. And what I said is, in the first one, abundance is a vibration, it's an energy pattern. In the second one, all energy patterns can be changed. And in the third one, changing focus changes patterns. That's important. So now, the fifth one, which we really won't be able to go through, what it says is that abundance is reinforcing happy, loving patterns. What the fifth module says is that happiness fulfills, that you can choose consciously to be happy with the good in your life, and then when you do that, through that focus, your blessings are going to increase. And it's very, very important. It has a practical aspect to it. We say that one of the most effective ways to increase happiness is found in blessing or complimenting or noticing, admiring, appreciating the good. And Harv was saying something about, when you find yourself criticizing other people, then guess what happens? So I'm going to ask you to do, it's funny because we can't do a muscle check in which you can see me doing it, but you can do your own by simply putting your hand down on if you're by a bed, or if you're by a dresser, or if you have a book in front of you, you can just put your hand down, and you're spreading out your fingers. And
that's palm down, right?
Yeah, palm down on something that's sturdy. And now it's possible through muscle checking to show you how your relationship to money affects you. So this is what I'm going to ask you to do. You have to be very aware, though, by seeing how it feels, if there's any little resistances, the very subtle feelings. So your index finger, I'm going to ask you to say out loud, I hate money, and then you're going to just lift your index finger, but only lift it as far as it feels comfortable. So let's all say that together. I hate money. And then lift that finger. Okay, good. Now you notice where it goes, and then put it down. All right? Now, what you're going to do now is you're going to say, I love money, and then you're going to lift it again. So I'll say it together. I love money, and put that finger up, and notice where it goes this time.
Yeah, for me it was like twice as high.
Twice high. How about you, Gail?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, isn't that amazing?
Easier, yep.
Yeah, now for those of you on the line that it didn't work for you that way, that's okay, because sometimes muscle checking doesn't work if you're dehydrated. But what most of you would probably see is that when you go ahead and you criticize something as inanimate as money, you actually weaken yourself because the muscles of your finger would not go up as high. But when you go ahead and you praise and say, I love money, what happens is you strengthen yourself. The finger went up much higher. And the reason that happens is because the subconscious part of ourselves takes everything personally. It believes right down to the DNA that it's connected with everything. And when you criticize something, even money, what it does is it feels under attack and pulls its energy in. And then you don't have the strength with which you need to manifest your dreams. So when you start finding yourself criticizing money or the government, the IRS, or yourself, what you're doing is weakening yourself for your future manifestations. So I think that's a good place maybe to stop, Harv. Do you think?
Well, I just think that was a great point right there. I'm thinking that you're talking about projection here, basically, whereby your subconscious, since it does have the truth about what the universe is all about and that everything is connected, so that when you are basically negating or judging or criticizing or talking ill of anything or anyone else, it, as you said, it takes it personally, meaning that you're doing that to yourself, which means everything is totally a mirror. So you're weakening yourself in all ways as soon as you judge or criticize another.
Absolutely.
And that includes inanimate and animate objects. So that includes money or anything else.
That's right. It sure does. And you know, there's an old Irish saying that says, money made a vow that whoever should not love her should not have her. If you want an abundance of money in your life, you're going to have to learn how to love it. And remember, this isn't equal to greed. You know, that old saying, the love of money is the root of all evil. No, actually, the translation was the lust for money is the root of all evil, which meant greed. And greed is you want it all for yourself, no one else can have it. But in the Hawaiian system, we believe everything is alive, aware, and responsive. And if you love that inanimate money, just as you love all the good that it can do in the world, it's more of it's going to come into your life. And if you love what you have right now in your pocketbook and your bank, more of it's going to come into your life because your focus is on that love and the appreciation, and there is a flow that happens there.
That's really important to people that realize that whatever you've got, that's one of the things I do in the morning with my gratitude journal, which these guys know about, is that I talk about the money or the abundance that I do have all the time. It doesn't matter if it's for example, I started an education fund for my kids just this last time. Now, I hadn't done that before, and I should have done it a long time ago, but I didn't. And there's just a very minimal amount, that I started with. I literally, it's a joke. But when I in comparison to what I should have done, but I kind of let that all go, and I said, okay, now it's started, and I was very, very grateful for the few dollars that were in that already, and I made sure that I started with with a few cents in that cookie jar, and things have just grown really quickly since I started that. But really, this whole idea of when you say loving money, maybe for some people they don't want to use the word love because it maybe conjugates greed. So if they like to, they can use the words like honoring money and enjoying money and seeing the pleasure or the blessing in it. And certainly the idea of loving what you've got right now definitely relates to what you just talked about with regard to all being connected. If you love what you've got now, that being connected to loving what you'll have in the future. And I think if people really understand what you've been talking about tonight, they can really make some deep, deep changes in what they've been doing.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, and Harv, when I was living in Los Angeles, I used to have a frame around my license plate, and the top of the frame said, look for the good, and the bottom of the frame said, and praise it.
Right.
If we do that more in our lives, with money, with kids, with, everything in our lives, there's going to be a greater flow of abundance in all ways.
You know what? Praising is a great idea. There's a saying I heard recently that is, you raise what you praise.
Aha, that's great.
Yeah, I think I liked it.
Yeah, I like that. That's great.
Yeah.
Okay, so are we at our...
Yeah, we are. That's great. Who's on the line right now? Is there anybody from, let's see if there's anybody from Toronto. Anybody from Toronto on the line right now? Press, if you're calling from Toronto, press mute or *6 again. You'll be interactive with Kala.
Hello.
Hello.
Oh, hello.
Who's there?
It's Alana.
Hi, Alana.
How are you?
Good. You got a question for Kala?
Yeah, just thinking in terms of, so you can think of your old memory and the old thoughts, whatever they were, so you release them. So how can you actually activate it all, aside from just thinking about it and replacing it with your energy and all that you've just said?
Activating it, you mean getting it into your reality?
No. I mean, okay, I know what the old thought pattern is.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
And so then I say, okay, now I know it, so now I can release it. But you know how sometimes you can release it and say, I'm going to let go, but it keeps coming up. It isn't just a one-time process.
Absolutely. In fact, what you need to do, you absolutely have to, of course, replace it with another idea that's more beneficial for you, right? And then, of course, you want to be feeding your energy to that idea, which means you want to be able to have that in front of you as much as you can and be able to feed that idea with your energy. And it doesn't matter if you put it into a symbol form. We do specific things about working with it to get it integrated into your subconscious. But what you need to do is put more focus of attention. When you start seeing how much you've put focus on the old belief, then you see how much you really need to put focus on the new belief for it to become a new habit pattern. So you really have to use whatever tools in words, images, feelings, and movement to make that stronger within your whole being, within your psyche. Does that help?
Well, it helps. I think, too, for me, if it becomes more effortless, then I know I'm on the path. When I have to work really hard, it just somehow doesn't come, the whole thing doesn't come together, all my mental, physical, and stuff.
When you have to work really hard at what?
Well, trying to change the pattern, and I think that's when the awareness comes in. I have to become more aware of it all.
No, but you're saying working hard at what? At work or at changing the pattern?
Changing the pattern. Changing the pattern.
You do have to be diligent at it, and if you can have more play rather than work with being diligent at it, because the subconscious goes towards pleasure, it's going to want to go in that direction much more. So you need to focus on the benefits of that new belief, because as you focus on the benefits, the subconscious is going to find it pleasurable and move in that direction.
Well, one of my beliefs is I got to work hard, so that's another one to change.
Okay, here's what I suggest right now. I would suggest, because Kala had a really good idea around the play thing.
Right.
We all grew up with nursery rhymes as kind of fun and playful. So my suggestion is to create a rhyme around your new belief system. Create a rhyme, and kind of like a rhyme or a little song type of thing, just 2 or 3 or 4 verses. I mean, just, 2 or 3 or 4 lines, actually, that keep it nice and simple. And just create a rhyme around your new belief system and say that to yourself, rhyme that to yourself 4, 5, 6 times a day.
That's great. That's great. Make it a song, yes.
Yeah, there you go.
That's great. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good job. Okay.
I flew out of Toronto for 10 years, so I like Toronto.
Yeah, great stuff. Okay, anybody here from BC? Anybody from BC got a question? Press *6 or mute, and you'll be interactive with us here.
Hi, Kayla.
There we go.
Kayla?
Yes.
And Harv, it's Mary calling. Mary Eker.
Hi, Mary.
Kayla, I just wrote you an email.
Okay.
Hey, Mary, hi.
Hi. I am so happy to hear you on this with Harv, because I just want to take a second to tell you that just in listening to this and going over things, I really feel like something's coming together. I am, and I'll just say that, and that that'll be it. But suddenly, both of you together on this line and talking about, you know, because I've taken your class once, Kayla and Harv.
See that,
I'm
Harv? We have
excited.
to teach together.
I'm excited.
There you go.
Okay, bye-bye. That's mine. I don't have a question.
Thank you,
actually, I do have one minute, tiny question. Do I still have time?
1 minute.
Okay. If I'm going through some legal stuff, do I just train my mind to say, okay, everything's just going to turn out okay, and then do the paperwork I have to do without thinking?
Yeah. What you want to do is you definitely want to EWAP it. You want to do that over and over again. And you also, of course, you keep that positive expectation that outcome, know what the outcome is that you want, and also allow for it to be even better than that, and keep the positive expectation so you can keep that focus. Yeah. Okay, Mary?
Thanks a lot.
Yeah, all the best with that.
Great. Thanks. Great stuff. Okay, you know what, Paula, before we go into our announcements, let the people know basically what you've got going as far as your 4-week thing, because that's what a lot of people have been taking, and that's where all these testimonials are coming from, and that's what I'm going to be on. So let us know when it is and what it is.
Thank you, Harv. Yeah, well, I'm happy to tell people, and I have a new course that's coming up, and it's 5 weeks. You learn the 4-week formula in 5 weeks. And you also learn the money magnet technique, which is just so much fun that your subconscious starts bringing money to you right away. So you'll see a lot of that in the testimonials. People will be talking about the money magnet. I'll just give you my website address again and my email address, and then you can decide if you want to connect with me, okay?
So you can go to my website at www.becomemagnetic.com. So that's become, BECOME, and magnetic, MAGNETIC.com. And you can also email me, KALA@becomemagnetic.com. So that's how people can get in touch with me, Harv.
Well, once again, all I know is I haven't been on the course myself, and that's why I got a call on. I'll just read testimonial after testimonial. I go, there's something going on here, so I know that it works. Thanks so much, caller, for being on the line. So if you want to just say goodbye to everybody, that would be great.
Okay. Aloha, everybody.
Aloha. Thank you.
Aloha, and thank you, Harv and Gail.
Thanks.
Bye now.